What's going on? This is Flickin' Off, episode 3. And I gotta tell you, the universe does not want this one to get released. I've been having the worst 3 days of my life as far as technical difficulties are concerned. I finally figured it out. I had to drive 103 miles. I had to spend $302 to get here. So here we are, Flicking Off, episode 3. I'm Marc. This is Jacob. We're going to be talking about Cold Mountain today. Cold Mountain, Jude Law, Nicole Kidman. I believe the director's name is Anthony Mangella. There we go. Before we even get started, Jacob wanted to address some corrections on a mistake he said last episode. Take it away.
I accidentally credited Ex Machina to Denis Villeneuve, and I know it's Alex Garland, so y'all can stop blowing me up. Yeah, I know he was the writer of 28 Days Later. He directed Ex Machina, Annihilation, Men, Civil War.
I had a couple of people text me about it too.
Also, I know I'm pronouncing his name wrong. I know I looked it up, and I've just always given him my southern pronunciation from how I read it, but I understand it's something closer to like Denis Villeneuve, and I'm probably still butchering it, but
we're from Virginia. We're not from Oxford.
That's the only correction I have. So I know we wanted to talk a little bit about like other movies that we like, just directors that we like, just give the audience like a little brief snapshot into like a little bit more about us, since we usually only talk about one movie per episode. So what are some things that you like?
I'm really recently, and when I say recently, I'll probably say the last 3 years, I've really been into like the Sicario films. I really enjoy the Dune series. Really have enjoyed couple comedies that have come out. A lot of the stuff I've been hyped for ends up just blowing up in my face for whatever reason. We recently went, both me and you went with your wife and I went by myself, but we saw Eddington.
That was really good.
Lancaster was the director. Ari Aster, right.
Yeah.
And he did Midsommar. I'm into him. I really like him as a director. I grew up on Goodfellas, Blood In, Blood Out. I'm really into like just serious drama / crime / anything that's just like over the top, violence, dialogue, crazy stuff happening, I'm into pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, I love a lot of horror, sci-fi. I love the Alien series, the Predator movies, all the classics, of course. Directors I like, I like the Richard Kelly movies. He did Donnie Darko. I like Neil Blomkamp, who did District 9 and Elysium.
I love
and
those.
Chappie.
Those are really good
those movies. I like a lot of, horror. Like I said, Don Coscarelli, I enjoy his films a lot. He did the Phantasm series. I like more off the wall stuff too, like John Waters, stuff like that. So, we'll talk a little bit more about movies we love, the more podcasts we do, and you'll get to know, a little bit of the different flavor of movies that we're into. Today, we chose Cold Mountain, and the link to our previous movie, Moneyball, is Philip Seymour Hoffman, the late great Philip Seymour Hoffman. He plays a small role in both films, but he's a really great actor, and so we had to highlight another one of the Philip Seymour Hoffman roles. So give us just a quick synopsis of what Cold Mountain's about for people who don't know about it.
So basically, I want to say I will say it. I don't think it's a thing. It's a Civil War Western. Okay. It's basically two people fall in love. The man goes off to war and he's trying to get back to the love interest, Nicole Kidman. So Jude Law is the protagonist. He's the main actor. He's the main, he's one of the two in the love interest.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. That's the gist. Yeah.
Yeah.
He goes to war after meeting this woman, and he's the whole movie he's trying to get back to her.
Yeah.
And they do it in a very dramatic way throughout the entire film.
You mentioned the director. This came out in 2003. For anybody who doesn't know, was directed by Anthony Minghella, which you mentioned. He's an English director. His most famous film was The English Patient, and also he did The Talented Mr. Ripley with Matt Damon.
Never seen that.
This is based on a 1997 historical fiction book by Charles Fraser, and the book won the U.S. National Book Award for Fiction. And then the movie went on to get 7 Academy Award
Oh yeah,
nominations, and
they marked up.
Renee Zellweger won for Best Supporting Actress, and we'll get into her role a little
And
bit
she
later.
deserved it.
She deserves it. She
she
totally
deserved it.
kills it.
She kills that
And
role.
adds some much needed humor to the film and some serious parts. The budget for this was 79 million and it grossed 173 million, so they definitely made their money
did their
back and then
job,
some. So yeah, I mean, this movie, like Mark said, you know, is basically a Civil War movie, although you don't actually get a ton of Civil War action in this film aside from the opening of the movie.
Yeah. That's a lot. There's
It's
a
a
lot
lot.
there. That's 15
Yeah.
minutes of some hardcore shit
Yeah.
going down.
You get, you know, it actually opens up with like some rippled water, which has like an underlying meaning throughout the film. And we'll get into that a little bit later about what that rippled water is about. And you get some narration by Nicole Kidman's character. I believe it's from one of the many letters she probably wrote to Inman, who is Jude Law's character while he was away in the Civil War.
This ripple thing was done really well too. I
Yeah.
mean, as far as the whole dramatic movie and the flow of this movie, that ripple thing, it always hopped from one part of the movie to another in a beautiful way.
Yeah. You see Inman, Jude Law's character, he's down in the trenches and he's looking through this journal and this notebook that has a photo of Nicole Kidman in it. And that plays like a central role in the movie too. He's always got to have this journal with him. And you see, I believe you had mentioned it, you see a shot of this rabbit that sort of comes out of a hole. And there's like a
beautiful
bunch
shot.
of Northern troops like laying down in a field,
Dead.
like, and the Southern troops don't know they're there waiting for them. The Northern troops have placed explosives under this trench area where the Southern troops are hiding. The Confederates are hiding out. And then this rabbit pops up again in the Southern trenches, and these hungry guys start chasing him. And as this guy is chasing him, boom, you get this massive explosion.
Huge
but it's
explosion.
a really cool shot because you get this slow motion shot of like the ground lifting up as this guy is like chasing the rabbit. And like you even mentioned, like you see the guy's clothes like get blown
blow
off
right off. It was
him. So it's crazy. It's a crazy shot. It's a lot of fun. For a
Was that historically accurate, the bombs under the tunnels and stuff? I think you mentioned something like
I
that.
believe it was. This was at the siege of Petersburg in 1864 is when this happens. And that's actually not too far from where I live. About 30 miles from where I live was where this battle happened. And yeah, I'm not 100% whether that's exactly what happened, but I know that the writer who wrote the book is known for writing extremely accurate historical fiction. So he takes extremely accurate events and then weaves in a fictional narrative about the characters around them. So I'm going to assume it is, but I'm not 100% on that. So you get something that happens here a lot, especially in the early half of the film where, you know, we get what's happening in the present and then we get cutaways back to the past. So we get a cut back to 3 years earlier when Ada, Nicole Kidman's character, and her father, played by the great Donald Sutherland, Reverend Monroe, are making their way into Cold Mountain for the first time. They're moving from Charleston, South Carolina. He has a lung
400-mile horseback ride, by the way,
Yeah.
back in the day. That's a long trip.
It is a long trip. And you see this, you know, beautiful little mountain town of Cold Mountain, North Carolina, but it's actually a lot of this movie. It was shot in parts of Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, but most of the movie was shot in Romania, and they actually built this town of Cold Mountain in Romania. Like everything that you see was built and constructed, and it looks historically accurate. It looks perfect. It's really cool.
Us growing up in that area, I was shocked at how mirrored the hilly vibe was.
Yes.
Of the plains and whatnot. It was spot on, the countryside.
And they said one reason they picked Romania was because it has like a really distinct 4 seasons, just like North Carolina and Virginia do as well, where you get
East Coast in general.
Exactly. You know, you get some snow in the winter, not a lot, but you know, and then you get extremely hot temperatures in the summer. But we get, all the Inman is up working on a house, he's a builder, he's a craftsman, I guess, of sorts. He says in one line, "I work wood." And
I work wood and hunt and fish.
another character we'll get to a little bit later tells Ada, "Hey, I need somebody to plow my upper field. Why don't you go and talk one of those guys into it?" And so she goes up and talks to Inman, and they sort of hit it off right away. There's not
I don't
really
know
any.
about hitting it off right
Yeah,
away.
there's no like giant sparks, but you can
Yeah.
tell that they're setting us up. They're setting the audience up for, what you already know is going to happen because you've seen that they're, you know,
On the front of the movie cover, yeah, like,
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you get some great dialogue like you mentioned. There's a lot of there's great accents, great southern accents. There's great just
yes, dude, look, shout out to Jude.
period, period correct dialogue,
Shout out to Jude Law because Jude Law is British, if I'm not mistaken. He's of the UK descent. He has a very thick accent, and for him to pull off this old North Carolina country boy accent real well, he must have had to meet a couple folks down yonder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be
Hey,
like,
just
I work with wood. Yeah,
so yeah, then we cut back. We cut back to the Civil War, and we cut back to this battle. The Northern troops are like advancing on the Southern troops, but what they don't realize is they're getting ready to fall into a trap. This giant crater that was formed from this explosion. They all run down into this pit, and
dead end. They're all trapped.
they're trapped. It's like a melee for the South. They're like shooting fish in a barrel.
And the
But
camera's like up on top of the North, like with the camera over the North shoulders as they're like throwing rifles. They're like
yeah,
stabbing folks. They're throwing bombs. They're just peeling them off one by one. It's really gory, really bloody. And for a romantic film, for them to notch up the action like that in the beginning, it's a little different. It's a little
yeah.
different.
And the director mentioned in some of the special features I watched, like pretty much all the movies he did prior to this, it's all dialogue, it's people talking. So this was like a big challenge for him to pull this off and make it look realistic. And he was really nervous about it. So he worked with all the right people to make sure it came off super realistic and the way he wanted it to come off. And it does, it
It
totally works.
does. Yeah, it looked really good.
One of Inman's friends in the Civil War, Oakley, ends up, I can't remember how, but he ends up down in the pit and
He falls.
he falls.
He
Okay.
slips and falls down that hill.
Okay. Yeah. And Inman decides he's going to go save him. And as
Right.
an audience member, you're going, what is
Like,
this
what
guy
is
doing? Like, you're
you're
walking
dead.
down into like a
The
melee.
trap you created for the South. That's where you want to go.
But they make it out of there. The battle gets over, but his buddy Oakley is beat up. He's on a stretcher. He looks like he's dying, and
Oh, he
you
is
know,
dying.
he is dying. He even asks him and something like, "Am I gonna die?" And like as an audience member, I remember being like, "Oh yeah, dude, you're
Yeah,
you're
dude,
not
you're
making it
dying.
out of this."
The rhetorical question, Lucas.
You get one cool shot where he's like in a tent, still alive, but barely hanging in there. We get this
Wounds
fiddle
out the
player.
wazoo. I mean,
Yeah,
he's just bloody and dirty.
we get
Got
this fiddle player who comes up to serenade him, played by Brendan Gleeson, a great, I believe he's an Irish actor. He's great. He's in a ton of good stuff. Uh, he he starts playing like a sort of upbeat fiddle thing, and the guy's like, wait, he's like, can you play something sweet for me? And he like describes an idyllic scene of like,
a
because the
perfect
guy's
day
like, I
for
don't
him at
know.
home.
Yeah,
He's like, can
exactly.
you play a tune where the sun shines down over the grass? Just a little bit yonder, and that character with the fiddle looks at Inman and is like, I don't know no songs like that, boy.
Yeah. but
And
he pulls it off. He
he
does start
does.
playing something sweet, and it's a really cool
He pulls
and
out a
really
banger.
sweet scene. And the audience doesn't know it yet, but this fiddle player is going to show back up later in the movie and become like a crucial character to the story near the later third of the film. And we get, more bouncing around back when Inman is meeting Ada. And let's see. Yeah, we get the scene where we see Inman, and he's working the field of this lady, Sally Swanger. And her character is played by Kathy Baker. She's a great actress. She was in Cider House Rules and The Right Stuff. And her husband, the character's name is Esco Swanger. It's played by James Gammon, another great actor who is in like Major League and Wyatt Earp. And Sally tells Ada, like, Inman's out there working, I know y'all want to talk. Why don't you go talk to him? And she sort of doesn't want to. She's sort of shy in this moment, but she has her piano that they're hauling on the back of the wagon. So
Bro,
when they're pulling away, she decides to like play him a tune, and Inman just sort of takes off his hat or whatever. I don't know if he tips his hat, but he sort of watches her from the field. It's just another like
can we
cool
like
scene.
first of all, that scene dramatic. Like that was like the first that's like the third cherry of the dramatization that the director was going for. But I looked up when I saw her playing the piano in the back of the chuck wagon, so to speak, being driven by horses, thinking about the time period in my head. We're in the 1860s here. Nobody's playing a giant piano on the back of a chuck wagon after making it to making it from South Carolina. But Vanessa Carlton had a famous song out around the time of this video. And I brought this up to Jacob. He didn't believe me, but I forget.
Well, I didn't believe they're connected, but
He didn't believe they're connected, but I do. Okay. Why would you have Nicole Kidman in 1860 playing the piano on the back of a bandwagon? Okay. During the same time that I forget what that song is called, but it's played by Vanessa Carlton. She's
1,000 miles. Did you say?
Yeah, 1,000 miles is what it's called. And the whole music video, one of the biggest music videos to this day, one of the biggest songs to this day to ever come out. And it was A Million Miles. And she played on a piano moving throughout the whole music video. And the timing of it is just a little too close for me. I think the director must have been a huge Vanessa Carlton fan deep down, wanted to pay tribute with that scene. But Jacob doesn't think so.
This is one where too, like, it's just a good time to mention like the music of this film. The soundtrack was sold a lot of copies. It was huge. You got like a lot of Southern music in it. You've got a lot of like church choir kind of music. They called it like sacred harp music. And I have somewhere here in my notes, I'm sure I'll find it a little bit later, but like they worked for a long time on this music. Some of this music was recorded a year before they even started filming the movie because they knew they wanted to like weave it into the story, and music had to be like a huge part of this story.
Yeah,
But
it's produced by T-Bone Burnett, and it combines Appalachian roots and old time music to reflect the era of the movie, so to speak. But it did do good. This soundtrack was a critical success. It sold 260,000 copies in the United States as of 2004. And let's face it, folks, we were ripping music then, so that's pretty damn good.
we get another great scene where it cuts beautifully from her playing the piano on the back of the wagon to her playing the piano set up in her father's newly bought farmhouse. And there's like a party going on. And in the background, you get the first sort of hint at some of the antagonists of the film. You say a character named Teague, played by Ray Winstone, who's been in tons of stuff, Sexy Beast, The Departed, just tons of movies. And you also see an albino character named Bosie in the background, and that's played by Charlie Hunnam. Most people probably know him from Sons of Anarchy. He was big in that series.
Huge success, Charlie Hunnam.
And we found out that this land and this farm specifically was Teague's grandfather's farm. And, he must not have had the means to buy it. And Ada's father, the Reverend Monroe, played by Donald Sutherland, did. And he's not too happy about that. Basically, to put it really bluntly, he's not too happy about that. But we get another great shot where Inman shows up to the house, to the party, but it's raining outside. He's completely wet. He doesn't want to come inside, but Ada sees him through the window, sort of looking in. And so she decides to come out and have a chat with him. And it's one of the very few times before he leaves for the Civil War where they see each other. And again, we get cuts back to, the Civil War and what's going on there. And now we find out that the Northern soldiers that escaped the battle have hidden in the woods somewhere and they're planning another raid on the South. So the South puts together a group of guys to go in the middle of the night and try to take out these Northern soldiers. And Inman's one of these guys. They get into a firefight and Inman gets shot in the neck and wounded horribly. And in fact, when I saw him get shot, I was like, oh, he's not going to make it through this, because I hadn't seen the movie either, but I was like, he's got to make it, right? It's too early in the film for Inman to get
I
killed.
thought he was gonna die right there when I first saw it too.
Yeah.
I really did.
And, again, we cut back, we've got scenes with Ada at home. It's pre-Civil War still. Inman's brought her over some of his deceased father's sheet music. Obviously just an end to get himself over there and see Ada again. So he brings her this over and they go on a walk together. Well, they want to go on to a walk, but Ada's father sort of invites himself along for the walk too. He's like, "Yeah, sure, great idea. We'll all go on a walk."
Well, no, it was just back at that period of time, right? Like Inman approaches the house to give the sheet music to her father, but clearly there to see Anna, played by Nicole Kidman, and then he offers Inman to come inside, but he's like, no, that's okay. Like, because back in those days, a little weird to go inside the woman you're courting's parents' house. But then Nicole Kidman's character, she recommends, she's like, Daddy Inman's more of an outdoorsman, and he's more comfortable outside. Why don't we go for a walk? And he's like, splendid idea. And they all three go out. But that's back how things used to be, like, it wasn't like, hey, can I take your daughter on a walk? Like, none of that was going down.
And you get a great feel too for like Donald Sutherland's trying to feel out Jude Law and see where his head's at about this war, this coming war, and what he thinks about it. And I can't remember exactly what Jude Law says, but he says something to the effect of like the idea that preachers on both sides, because he knows he's a reverend, are going to be sitting in their pulpits defending their side of the war, and that really has nothing to do with God. God would rather not have the war, something to that effect. And like you can tell that the Reverend really appreciates that perspective, and it's sort of like, oh, this guy's not a bad dude, for my daughter. So that's really cool. We get they're at the chapel at the local church, and we get like some of that sacred harp singing. And
they're like partying at the church almost, right? It's like raining outside and they're all gathered for something. I think it's a party though, right?
Well, what happens is, I guess before we get to singing, you get like a great scene with a dove, and like Inman's got to get the dove out of the church, and then there's some singing. Then all of a sudden a guy comes in while everybody's doing their singing and starts whispering in different guys' ears, and guys start getting up and leaving and going outside, and people are starting to take notice, like, what is going on here?
And this is a great scene.
Yeah.
This is a great scene because the whole time Inman and Nicole Kidman's character Anna are singing that church music, because everyone in the church is singing. They're all like in like sardines, like shoulder to shoulder. And when the people start whispering about what's going on outside, everybody gets up. But Inman and Anna they're in their seats, and they're locked eyes with one another as everyone's leaving. They stay still, and you see just how close they didn't look close at first with all the people, but then the people leave and you see how close they really were. That was a really well thought out scene. I really enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
Like just seeing it, because it hits on like these two are in love. Like that's the one that like, all right, they making some babies after this,
And what you realize has happened is guys have come in to announce the Civil War has started. Like, it's on.
Right.
We got to get
we're
ready.
We're going back to war. Yeah.
We're going to war. And so then everybody exits the church. They're all outside. And who shows up on a horse but Teague and Bosie, the antagonists. And he announces immediately the formation of the Home Guard, which was a group of people who would, stay back at the towns and make sure there weren't deserters being harbored, make sure that there weren't sympathizers. And he gives a whole speech, about basically, sympathizers from here on out, you got to watch your back, and the audience can tell right away, like, this guy's going to be a
This ain't
problem.
good.
This guy's in charge now, not going to be good. Right. And, you know, so, it's a good scene. You get, I can't remember if we get, let's see. Yeah,
What
I can't remember here whether I think we cut back to possibly the hospital that Inman's in. He's in the hospital recovering. It's not like an old southern farmhouse they've converted into a hospital.
but wait, I thought the wars just started again.
Well, it did, but see, it's cutting back and forth
Oh,
because
that's
we
right. Yeah, yeah,
saw
yeah. You're
Inman
right. You're
got
right.
shot.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah,
said,
yeah.
I can't remember if it's exactly them, but somewhere around this timeline in the movie, we cut back and see Inman recovering in the hospital. He
Yeah,
has
because
a
he
great,
eventually becomes a deserter to come back to Nicole
yeah,
Kidman's character. So that's why they did. You're right. That's how they
yeah.
did it.
Because he has a great conversation after he's able to get out of bed with this blind peanut salesman outside the hospital
Yeah.
about deserters, being shot and all this stuff.
Well, no, he said if you could see for 10 minutes, would you?
Yeah,
And he said, I wouldn't pay a red Indian cent for 10 minutes. And he
yeah,
was like, well, me and you we don't feel the same.
yeah,
And he's like, what I'd give to see my home for 10 minutes. He's like, what I'd give to see your home or someone. And then Inman kind of like, he's like, damn, this blind man knows exactly what the hell I'm talking about. And then he
yeah,
warns him, he said, they're killing deserters. So if you
yeah.
do leave, better be on your P's and Q's.
And that's sort of like it's a theme of this movie. You get lots of characters in this movie who aren't in the movie that long, really short spans of time, sometimes just one scene, but they'll have something really philosophical to lay out there that makes the characters think, makes the audience think about what it's like and what's
In that
important to
time,
you.
yeah.
And that's really cool. So somewhere in this timeline again, we cut back to the past and we see Inman getting ready to leave for the Civil War, and Ada shows up at his place to bring him this journal and this book that we see him carrying and going through at the beginning of the movie when he's sitting in the trenches. He opens the door, he's shirtless. He's like, "Oh, whoa, whoa,
Oh,
wait,"
whoa,
like,
whoa. Yeah, like
you
that was
can't see
so
me like
weird to
this.
see. I'm like, yeah, they
Yeah,
don't do that now. They're like, hey, what's up, girl? Putting your hand up on the frame of the door or
yeah, and
whatnot.
they have a beautiful conversation, and uh Inman realizes, like, "Oh, I'm not gonna see her again for a while," so he just grabs her and kisses her, and it's this long, passionate kiss, and they're falling all over the place, can barely keep their feet. Another soldier runs by and goes, "He's only gonna be gone a month." And, it's funny because we as the audience know, like, nah, he's gonna be there for several years. And, it's also another funny, thing to throw the movie into a historical context. People thought, hey, this is going to be quick. The South thought, oh, we're just going to run all over these Northern guys and this thing will be done in a month. And it just wasn't the case. It wasn't going to go down like that. I mentioned the scene with Inman in the hospital where he does jump out the window and goes to desert the war. We see like another couple actors that weren't being mentioned. James Rebhorn, he was in The Game, Son of a Woman with Al Pacino. We get Emily Deschanel. She was famously in the show Bones. They're both great actors that again are just in like the movie for a couple minutes, but they kill it.
Well, this
Uh,
cast was huge.
so we get a really important scene too, where we see Ada hanging with her father. Inman has left, and long and the short of it is he wants to work on his sermon. She goes in, play piano. It starts raining. She calls for her father, and her father is dead. He died under the oak tree out in front of our house, sitting at the table.
As dramatic, and like think about the most dramatic way you could film it too, like the hand falling off and everything. Like,
Yeah. And we had learned earlier in a conversation that Ada lost her mother when she was just an infant. So she never really knew her mom at all. So now Ada is completely on her own in a new town, and she knows nothing about this country life or how to run a farm or how to do any of this stuff. So we see lots of scenes of Ada struggling, you know,
Trying to
one of
pawn off her father's watch for food. She's
exactly. She's
getting invited over to other people's houses for dinner.
neighbors bringing her eggs, and she's like hiding under the porch in shame because she doesn't want anybody to see how inept she
Fucked up
is at
she looks. Yeah,
running this place.
she looked rough.
So then, we get lots of shots of like Inman walking through the mountains, walking through the woods, trying to make his way back to Ada. A little bit of Lord of the Rings action of shots of people walking. People always love to make fun of Lord of the Rings because you get lots of shots of people
Yeah, lots
walking.
of
Like Mark said, there's a scene where Ada is invited over to the Schwanger's house, Sally and Esco, to eat dinner because they know that times are tough. And when she gets ready to leave, Sally mentions, "Hey, we got a well that people claim you can see the future in it if you hang upside down and look through a mirror." And this is where the rippled water from the beginning of the movie ties back in because Ada decides to do it, and we get a shot of her hanging upside down, looking through the mirror at the ripples in the well. And all of a sudden, she can see like a vision of like black ravens flying around, and she sees the
a
outline of a
distinct
man,
figure.
and she's like, "Oh, that must be Inman." You can tell she thinks it's Inman, but as quickly as she sees it, the
She's like,
ripples
pull
take
me
it
up.
away,
Pull me
and
up.
there's nothing. She can't see it, but it gives her a sense of hope of like, I'm gonna see Inman again. Like I know I'm gonna see him again. And the neighbors quickly send her some help. This is where Renee Zellweger's character comes in, Ruby, and right away this character is like electric. She's fun.
Oh
She's
yeah. The
funny.
first
She's got a great deep Southern mountain accent.
that first scene, the introduction scene to her character is quite it's one of the best I've ever seen because and I think it's a big reason just the way her character was written. It's a big reason she won that award. But the introduction scene when throughout the movie and when Jacob was talking about how they were filming her struggling back at Cold Mountain, she's always running into like this really mean rooster who keeps attacking her
Yes.
and Renee Zellweger's character comes up to introduce herself, and that same rooster's on the part of the porch that they're talking. And she's like, I'd stay away from that. She's like, I'm going to help. All I need is room and board. That's all I ask for. She's like, of course, help me out. She's like, but stay away from that rooster. That rooster's the devil, I swear. And she said, that one right there. And she's like, yeah. Renee Zellweger's character turns around, grabs it, rips its head off, like
Yeah.
in one foot, like, and you
Yep.
see the head of the rooster in her hand. She's like, I'm gonna go cook us this chicken. We're gonna eat
Yeah.
it for
Put this
dinner.
rooster to pot. Yeah.
Yeah, like what? I think I'm gonna put him in a pot. That's right. Yeah, and that was a really good scene, man. That was shot really well. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that scene a lot.
Yeah, it was really cool. Around this time too, we get more shots of Inman walking, and we realize he's struggling to find food too. He's
Right.
like eating these little teeny sand crabs out of the sand. And then we see him come up on the edge of like a dried up cornfield, and these runaway slaves come walking out of the cornfield, and they've got a basket of eggs. And he
Big old
offers,
basket of eggs.
yeah,
He's
he
begging
offers
them
to
like,
buy
I'll give
one of
you a
the
dollar for
eggs.
an egg.
Yeah. They look at him like he's just any other white man, and they're like, "Nope," and they turn the
No.
other way. He walks to the edge of the cornfield, grabs an old ear off of it, and it's like covered in like, maggots or some
Maggots,
sort of
it's
bug
burnt.
larva. And as soon as this happens, he hears the slaves start screaming, and he hears somebody yell, "Home guard." And we realize that the home
They're getting
guard is getting
shot
ready
too.
to chase these runaway slaves. And we see hound dogs run, and they chase him through a cornfield. I guess this is a good part to mention because we didn't mention it before. There was a scene where Inman runs in to our connection with Moneyball, which is he runs into Philip Seymour Hoffman's character in the woods. And Philip Seymour Hoffman is a reverend who has a woman drugged and tied up in a sheet and is getting ready to throw
Oh
her off
yeah,
of a
that's
cliff.
right.
And come to find out, it's a slave that he has impregnated and doesn't want anybody in the community to find out what's happened. Inman holds him up at gunpoint, makes him let the girl loose, takes him back to town, strips him naked, ties him to a post, and puts a note on him detailing his crimes. So now, I'm just giving that for context for our audience, because now as Inman's on the run from these hounds and the home guard, he ends up in the swamps. And who does he run into? but this
The
reverend
and
who
he don't look the same.
he don't look the same. We
He's in
find
his
out
underwear. He's
the
got no
townspeople
hair.
cut his hair off and ran him out of town, and he's on the run as well. So now they're on the run together. They get to a little river, and there's a fairy girl there played by Jenna Maloney, another character who's only in the movie for like 2 minutes, and she's going to take him across the river for $30. And I'll let you describe a little bit of that
Oh,
quick scene of what happens.
this was a great scene. You know, they get because back in this movie does a great job of pointing out historical facts of what it was like to live during this war in the United States of America, and they do it in a beautiful way. And this is a beautiful scene where both these characters are on the run. The home guard's right behind them. You hear the hounds, you hear the gunshots. They're at this river with this who was that actress's name? It
Jenna
was
Maloney.
Jenna Maloney, and she was really young in this movie, but she did brilliant. She's like, you know, anybody trying to get across here is in trouble. And they both look at one another like, well, what's it going to cost? He's like, I got $5. And she's like, that ain't going to cut it. And then they're like, you know, the Reverend says 5 because he's broke as shit. And then Inman's like, I got 30 Confederate dollars to get us across. She said, that'll do. Snatches the money out of Inman's hand. They're in the boat. They start making their way. And as they're making their way, there's this really beautiful dialogue. Well, not beautiful, but funny. And Jenna Maloney's character is like paddling the boat with Inman and the Reverend on there. And she's going, you know, she looks Inman dead in his eyes because the preacher's sitting behind her. And she's like, you know, sir, for another $5, I'll go into that shed over there.
Another
lift up
30. She says
another 30. For
Yeah,
another
yeah.
30, I'll lift up my shirt and, you know, my skirt over my head and you can have your way with me pretty much. And then boom, she just gets fucking shot.
Yeah.
But before that, the Reverend's like, do we have another $30? Like, and then she
right
gets
before
shot.
she
right,
gets shot.
yeah,
Yeah.
right before she gets shot. Like the Reverend's like, Inman, do we got another 30 to, you know, head into that shed? But yeah. And then
they're panicked. They paddle their way out of there and get away from home guard.
Right. So like just for time's sake, they're running through. He runs into another character played by Daniel Ribisi was his name.
Giovanni
Ribisi, who's in a lot of films. Most people know him from the Amazon original series Sneaky Pete. That would be like his main like knock on film, I think, for anybody out there. But they meet him. They get coerced by him and these women at a tavern. They get real drunk and they start sleeping with both of them, except Inman. Inman ain't having none of that. He's trying to get back to his homegirl. And I believe they end up escaping the home guard once again.
Yeah, they get on a chain gang and they end up escaping from the chain gang.
They escape the chain gang. And
he escapes.
Inman
Reverend
drags.
Beasy, is dead at this point.
It's really dramatic from that point that we just described in the riverboat. And then let's just go right into the ending.
So we get, like Mark said, we're going to jump over a little bit here because it's a long movie. It's a 2.5 hour movie.
It took 6 years to film.
And it took a lot of years of pre-production.
Right.
To get all the buildings constructed, get the music done, all that stuff. We get other, just to compress the timeline down again, we get great shot of after Inman has escaped the chain gang, he meets a hermit lady in the mountains. She helps nurse him back to health a little bit and help some of his wounds from all the injuries he's gotten being on the run. And we get to see scenes between Ruby and Ada where Ruby's teaching her the ways of how to run the farm and how to do things. And
she's learning. Yeah.
She's changing from like a city girl to being a capable woman of running things on her own and being able to do it on her own. And this is where we get the fiddle player comes back into the story because Ruby set a trap in their barn for anybody trying to steal their corn. And who do they catch but this fiddle player who turns out to be Ruby's father, who was not the best father when Ruby was growing up. And Ruby is not excited to see this guy again. Stobrod is the character's name, and that's played by Brendan Gleeson, who we mentioned earlier in the podcast. And So yeah, now we're getting towards the end of the movie. We got Stowbrod, who's living in a cave with another great actor, Ethan Suplee, who is in this band with him, and Jack White.
It was crazy to see Ethan Suplee in this film too.
Yeah,
Just like just
he
for that
plays
such a small role, like
yeah, he plays a very sort of innocent,
ditz
yes, an
ditzy
innocent.
country boy.
Exactly. That's the best way of putting it. You've got so now we've got Inman is finally making his way closer, but he's not quite there yet. There's one other scene we got to mention before he gets back to Cold Mountain. He runs into another woman who's living alone in her cabin with the baby. And this character is played by the great Natalie Portman, who is in Black Swan. She's been in tons of stuff. People know who Natalie Portman is. But
Yeah, if you
there's a
don't know who
great
Natalie
scene
Portman
there
is,
where Inman basically saves her from some northern troops who come and attempt to rape her,
saves her and her baby.
saves her and her baby. And like we said, we're skipping over lots of great stuff here. If you haven't seen Cold Mountain, you need to go
Go
and see
see
it
it.
because
It's a
all
good
these
movie.
scenes have a lot more detail to them and are really good because we get some other great philosophical lines from Natalie Portman's character. The home guard finds the band, the fiddle players up in the mountains. Jack White has eaten some rotten meat. His character's name is Georgia. So he's off to the side. They don't see him. They just run up on Stowbrod and Ethan Supplee's character. And long and the short of it, they kill them. And Jack White witnesses their murder at the hands of Ray Winstone and Charlie Hunnam. He escapes. He makes it back down to the farm to tell Ada and Ruby, hey, your father and his bandmate are dead up there. So he stays back. They go up to bury the bodies. When they get up there, they find Ethan Suplee dead, but her father, Stowbrod, is still barely clinging on to life. So they take him to some hidden Cherokee cabins up in the mountains because they don't think he's going to be able to make the trip back down the farm in Cold Mountain to sort of recuperate him a little bit before they make the journey back down. And they need food. So here's another scene where we get to see how competent Ada is. Ada's taking out the rifle and she kills a bird. And as she makes this kill, she looks up down the road where she's at and she sees in the snow walking up a bearded man and she pulls the gun on him because she doesn't know who this guy
Yeah.
is, right? Inman knows it's Ada, but it takes Ada a moment to realize it's Inman. And so the audience is finally getting this reunited
Yeah, like Jim
of the
and
long
Pam
lost
Halpert
lovers.
all over again, dude. Like,
Yeah. And it's great. We get lots of great, sweet scenes of this evening of them hanging out and reminiscing and even talking about like what the audience is probably feeling too about how they really barely know each other,
right.
and just sort
But
of
they,
reminiscing about the times that they did have together and what
we
made them hold on to each other.
we had talked about that too during our research conversations, and I hated that they rushed. I felt like they rushed the love interest so much, but when you thought about it more, and I thought about it more, back in that time period, people really didn't have. There's no social media, there's no phones. It's all ink and letters, and I'm sure the postal service wasn't as prominent as it is now. So it's like they didn't have too much time. I think there was more of love at first sight going on back in
Yeah.
them days than there is now, you
Yeah.
know?
And yeah, exactly that. And the idea that like if you meet somebody and you have a connection, they're the one for you and you got to
Right.
make this work. Um and so now they decide, well, we can't not mention the love scene, right? So that
Oh,
evening
yeah, okay, let me
that
get
that
into. Look, I'll
evening
speed
let me
this
say
up.
one thing real
Okay.
quick before you get into this.
Alright.
Ruby gives him her cabin that she was staying in because she could tell something's going to go down.
There's
And
an end.
Inman and Ada go to spend the night, but they're good Christian people and they're not married, so they can't do this unless they're married. So they have an impromptu marriage ceremony where they say, "I
Right.
marry you" 3 times in a row to each other, and then I'll let you take it from there.
And again, what Jacob just said is pointing to what the director did throughout this film that made it really authentic and enjoyable for a lot of people. And this isn't just us saying this. This movie I think it got a 7.6 on IMDb. I'm not mistaken. We'll have the real rating in the
I'll
video,
look
but
it up. I think it's a 7.3, but yeah, it's
yeah,
high.
it's high. But this sex scene was one of the most dramatic, if not most, like there were so many scenes, so many different angles of the camera. Like this took a couple of days to shoot. This wasn't like they took like, you know, like, and I don't know how many days it really took, but when I it was really in tune. It kind of like gave the audience everything they had, all the tension leading up to them getting back together. It was really diabolical, though, man. They did everything but show the insertion. You know, it was wild, man. They were doing it from every single angle. You know, Nicole Kidman was showing every bit of her, every
Well,
inch of her.
I think you're embellishing a little bit, but it was hot and heavy.
It was
hot
hot,
and
dude.
heavy.
It was for Civil War times.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's kind of like maybe they were the first ones to do some of those positions in
yeah.
that time period. I don't know. It just was a little over the top for me, honestly. Like the whole movie is just completely utterly injected with drama in certain spots. It's like how much more drama can we pack in this scene? So they did that for the sex scene. And then let's just cut it to so after the sex scene,
The next morning they go to leave,
they go to leave,
and they decide to split up.
and that's when
And
the audience knows, like, oh shit, like nothing goes down when they split up. Like they just got back together, they're splitting up already. Okay, what's about to happen next? And
well, yeah, they know that Home Guard might be looking for them, so they decide, hey, why don't the men go down together and we'll go down together? And
right.
immediately the women are surrounded by the Home Guard, by Teague and Charlie Hunnam. And they also have Jack White on the horse with him looking beat up. Like they found him back at the house and they
And
knew
he's
where
a
to find
deserter,
him.
if I'm not mistaken, right? So they already got
Yeah.
him. Like, yeah,
They're, you know, then Stobrod is riding through the woods to kind of be a distraction because he can hear that they've gotten taken by Home Guard. That creates a distraction so that I can't remember if it's Ruby or Ada. I think it's Ruby pulls up a gun and shoots a
not
Teague.
important. Not
Yeah,
important.
not super important, but she doesn't kill him. And Inman's coming up. He's got his pistol out. He's firing.
And he's been a
And
badass throughout the whole film.
Ada is at this point standing over Teagues, about to kill him, and Inman takes him out. And he sees Bosie, Charlie Hunnam's character, riding
Taking
away on
off.
horseback, taking off. He decides right away, I can't let this guy get away. He takes after him on horseback. They confront each other, and Inman is trying to convince him, like, man, this war has been nothing but violence. Like, we don't need to do this. You know,
Just leave.
just
Like,
leave.
never
Like,
come
let's
back.
just exactly. And there's a great line that I gotta look it up
I
because
don't know why you like this line so much. Is it the youth line?
yeah, I mean, it was really good because he says, "What do you?" Yeah, Bosie, right before he draws his gun, he says, "I'll tell you what I got on my side: the confidence of youth." And I guess
Right.
it's important because it's like, I
That's
mean,
all we had. I
it's
mean,
the last thing
it
we
points to
hear
the
him
time
say.
period. That's what men of those days, everyone carried a gun, especially in those mountains of North Carolina. They still do. I go to visit my aunts, uncles, everybody's
Yeah,
strapped. But back in them days, it was prominent to be that age. You felt more of a man being that young. So that line did. Now, you know what? And I'm glad we got this on film. I kind of fuck with that line now too a little bit now that we're
yeah.
talking about it.
And
But
they
yeah,
draw
no.
on each other and
Yeah.
they fire both basically at the
At the
same
same
time.
time.
And you
At the
see
same time.
Hunnam basically immediately fall over, and you get
No. He's just leaned back on the horse.
he's
But
leaned back.
he's
Okay.
leaned back on the horse.
But we know he's done,
We know
right?
he's done. Yeah. He's
We
dead.
know he's done.
But we don't know
But
about
the
Inman.
audience doesn't know about Inman, and we're going, is he shot? Is he
Is
shot?
he shot? We're going now.
And we get a slow motion, birds flying through the woods. We get a crazy
and 9
like
seconds of this.
pan around, and we see Inman, and we're still thinking, is he shot? Is he shot?
Yeah, like
And then he coughs up blood, and we're like, oh.
In the most dramatic fucking fashion. I mean, this dude, he's like making this weird face for at least 30 seconds, and it's flashing back from him to the crows, to him, to other characters, and it gets to him again. And they got this really beautiful shot. He's on the horse, and the camera's spinning around.
Yeah.
From from Inman's back, and it gets to his face, and he just throws up this like epic amount of blood, like just this big old gob, like an elephant just came, just boom, right out of his fucking mouth, and you're just like, no, my God, they just got back together. What the fuck? What was the point of this movie? Like, holy shit, man.
And
That
so then
really
we get a
broke my
shot
heart.
of Ada seeing Inman walk up in the snow, stumbling,
Coughing
ravens
up
flying
blood.
by again, and we realize, shit, this is what she saw in the well. This was what she saw in the well. She didn't realize it, but she was seeing Inman dying.
Walking up
And
dead,
so he
yeah.
collapses. She comes over him to talk with him or, just look at each other while he's dying. And he looks at her and beautifully he says, I came back. And that was a reference to one of the letters earlier in the movie where,
I just want you to
she
come
just
back.
wants him to
Yeah.
come back. So he's replying like, I came back.
Beautifully
I made
shot.
it.
I was surprised by this film. I really was. I didn't think it was.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't think it
yeah.
was gonna make us. I didn't think it was gonna tug on the strings of emotion for me. I didn't think I was gonna get like triggered by
Yeah.
the ending, but I was. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, are you fucking kidding me?" That's like, if Jim just quit season 2 of The Office, you're like, "What?"
The audience has been waiting for them to be reunited the whole movie, and we really only get one scene with them together. And
Oh,
then
but it
he's
was a
dead.
hell of a scene.
It was.
It was a hell of a scene.
But then we get the final scene of the movie, which is a little bit of a time cut. We don't know how far, but it's somewhat in the future, and it's springtime, and Ada's in the field with her daughter, which the audience is now to assume is from this one sexual encounter she had with Inman. She's had a daughter, and she goes back down to the farmhouse, and you see Stobrod and Ruby had struck up a romance with Jack White's character, Georgia,
And she's
a
like
little
bringing
bit
food
earlier in
out
the
to the
movie.
table outside where her dad died.
And they have a son, yeah, and they're all sitting as this, conjoined family at the table outside where her father died, like you said.
Right.
And it's
So,
beautiful.
it
It's
is
a
a
good
beau-
way to wrap up the movie.
It's a good way to wrap up the show too. I mean, or this part of the show, but I
Yeah.
mean, me and Jacob, this was the first episode we are filming, which, third, whatever, but we had never seen this movie. That was a big reason that we
Yes.
selected it. Shout
Yeah.
out to Jacob's wife for recommending it. It's actually one of her favorite movies. I
Yep.
didn't know that until after we had recorded the one that we're not going to be able to use.
And I looked it up. It does have a 7.2 IMDb. So
7.2, yeah. So I mean, it's
highly rated. That's pretty high for
a Western,
movie of
yeah.
this caliber. Yeah.
For a Western, that's pretty damn good.
And like we said, for anybody who hasn't seen it, go and see it because we're leaving
Please.
out a lot. It's
We are
high production value. It's really good. And
We're just to tell you how much we're leaving out. The first episode we did on this was an hour and 40 minutes, and it was
Yeah.
mostly us just talking about the whole movie.
Going beat by beat, but since we had to re-record, we sort of condensed it a little bit.
This was
and
better.
Took it down.
I like this
Yeah.
one better. It's a lot more calm. Nah, but all right, let's get into the motherfucking hype train.
Hype train. What you got this week, brother?
Dude, I'm really excited. This movie's coming out soon. The director is Paul Thomas Anderson. Really like this guy. I saw the first film that ever did it for me for Paul Thomas Anderson was Punch Drunk Love with Adam Sandler. The way that, and Philip Seymour Hoffman was also in that film. He's got a great.
He's in a couple Paul Thomas Anderson movies. The Master.
R.I.P. Shout out to the Philip Seymour Hoffman family. But I mean, this movie is starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Benicio del Toro, which are two of my favorite actors.
Great
period.
actors.
Sean Penn is coming back to Hollywood now. He's been in a couple of films recently.
Yeah, he's pretty selective on what he chooses.
He really
these
is.
Days, so yeah,
he really is. He did that weird film where he was this famous rocker and he had like a daughter. I forget what that was called. Really strange role for him. But
I don't know if I saw that one. Yeah.
Well, anyways, Regina Hall is in this as well, and a up and coming actress. Well, I don't want to say up and coming, but she's been recently getting a lot of better roles. in
Yeah.
film. Her name's Tiana Taylor. If
Okay,
you're a
yeah.
big basketball fan, she was the girlfriend to Eamon Shumpert, who played shooting guard for the Knicks for a long time. And he bounced around to other winning teams, won some championships, I think. No, I'm really excited about this film. It's called One Battle After Another, starring Leonardo DiCaprio.
Coming
Space,
out soon, isn't it?
it's coming out September 26, 2025.
Awesome.
Basically, the loose plot is there's an evil enemy that resurfaces after 16 years, and a group of ex-revolutionaries reunite to rescue one of their own's daughter. So that's just like what I said in the beginning. This is right up my alley, and it's why I'm
Yeah.
so excited about it. I love the crime, family, gang type, Red Dead Redemption type, kind of film. And I love Paul Thomas Anderson because if you haven't seen Punch Drunk Love, you can really watch that movie and see just how much detail in film and filming frame by frame and colors and dialogue and, prop placement. Everything is like really in this guy's mind when he films, and it makes it immaculate every time. I want to say I don't know too many Paul Thomas Anderson movies I didn't like, but yeah, no, that's what I'm hyped about. Man.
Awesome.
One battle after another. September 26th. What do you got, cousin?
I got Predator Badlands coming out in November 2020. We get another live action Predator directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who has done the last two Predator films, the animated one, Killer of Killers, but he
Have you
also
seen
did
that one?
Prey. I didn't watch Killer of Killers yet. I'm not huge on animated stuff, but I
I heard it
will
was
watch
good.
it because I got to know the lore, right? I got to know what's
Right.
going on with the predators and
Well, you're a
stuff. So
big fan. You love
I got to get
Alien.
down on it. I just haven't yet. The trailer for this looks really cool. The thing that really excites me about it, you got Ella Fanning in it. She looks like she's playing like a synthetic human who the predator runs into on this world. The basic plot, the brief synopsis is a young predator outcast from his clan finds an unlikely ally on a journey in search of the ultimate adversary. But really, what has me hyped about this personally is you see a shot in the trailer of Ella Fanning's eyes, and on her eyeballs is the Wayland Yutani logo, which is a company from the Alien
Oh
franchise.
yeah.
And
They've never
so
linked the two, I don't
yeah, it's
think,
like they've
right?
done loose links, like people know that they exist in the
Alien
same
versus
universe.
Predator maybe
Yeah.
was the
Well,
one link.
Alien versus Predator it's like they obviously had those movies, but it's funny, like a lot of people don't consider those like in the same what they call canon as like the Alien films or the Predator films.
Well,
They
in that
supposedly
film,
exist in their own universe or whatever, but
well, I remember that in Alien versus Predator, it was the first link between Alien and Predator because they made it seem like the aliens were created for the predators to hunt, right? Like that was the whole plot of that film, right?
yeah, well, it's been a while since I've seen it. I don't know if they were created for that, but they definitely captured them to use as like this predator or as this like training animal to like,
Right. Yeah, it was
sort of test the predators is what I
right, right.
meant to say. But so yeah, that's what I'm hyped for coming out this November. So not that much of a wait, a few months, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. They got that show going on right now too. Everyone's really hyped about. I see it all over the internet, all over every
Alien Earth, I've been
Twitter
watching it
feed.
every
Yeah.
week.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
it's good.
have? Okay. So
Yeah.
what do you think about it so far?
So far it's good.
So
So far
far.
it's good. It's like it's really cool, like, since it's a new show, I don't wanna spoil anything for anybody who hasn't seen it, but I really enjoy it, and I think it's really good.
That's what's up.
So,
Well,
it
damn,
doesn't
dude.
have a lot of super well-known actors in it, but it does have this one synthetic character played by Timothy Olyphant, and a lot of people would recognize him. He's a great
I
actor.
want to speak on that a little bit before we end the show. There's so many people that just dismiss movies because there aren't any big names in the film.
Yes.
And I'm telling you right now, man, I mean, even like that movie's Snack Shack we watched, there's so much talent that I don't think people really realize. They're so used to seeing the big names make it to the theaters that they don't really show a lot of love to these up and coming actors and thespians and actresses. Like there is so much great talent out there that
Yeah.
a local play to a local film, like you're not doing yourself justice. You're missing a lot of gems if you're just looking at the names and not necessarily trying to see something great. Like
Yeah.
So
A
don't
lot of my favorite actor or favorite movies have, like, not very well-known cast
me
because
too.
it adds, like, a level of realism too that, like, sometimes you're like, you don't wanna know everybody. Not everybody needs to be Leo or Brad Pitt
Right.
or,
And I mean, like, who
you know.
wants to see the same thing? Now, don't get me wrong, like, I love seeing films with those big names, but
Yeah.
it's just like, what's that last one that Leo and Brad Pitt did with Quentin Tarantino?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. My wife and I actually rewatched that last night. I love it.
Great
Love
film.
it. Yeah.
What was great about it was there was a lot of new actors and actresses in that film. A
Yeah.
fucking lot.
Yeah.
I think the girls that played,
The Manson
the
girls, yeah.
Manson girls. One of the ones that was a big role for her, and we had never seen her before. When the foot scene where Quentin Tarantino had the camera at the corner of the car and her feet was right. Anyways, we're getting off subject,
Yeah.
but nah, dude. Shout out to anybody that's watching this. It took this episode. I don't even know how it's about to get made, but it is by the grace of God. We got it recorded. I figured out. I've been having so many technical difficulties with my microphone and my
Yeah.
computer and
You're on a friend's
Riverside.
computer right now, so just so
I'm literally at a
we
friend's
could get
house
it
right
done.
now, using her notebook, like using her electricity, drinking her beer. So shout out to Catherine for that. Yeah, man, this was Flicking Off, episode 3, Cold Mountain. Go and see it. Comment, like, share, follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube. Dude, just share the link of this episode and just tell people about it. We're going to keep coming to you every week. And I promise you, I'm not going to fucking stop. This episode will be out tomorrow. And we fucking appreciate y'all, man. And yeah, Flicking
Hell
Off,
yeah.
episode 3, baby. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.